Some of our favorite films likely would have been over in a few minutes if they took place today. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie plots that would not exist with smartphones.
I made my family disappear.
For this list, we're taking a look at conflicts in movies that easily could have been resolved or avoided entirely if only the main characters had had smartphones. Since we'll be dissecting some key plot points, a spoiler alert is in order.
I could take a nasty spill down the stairs and subject myself to further school absences.
Save it, Ferris. Come down here.
Number 10. Scream. Although this slasher satire still holds up today, it's clearly a product of the late 90s. Show of hands, how many people still rent movies from video stores or even know who Ricky Lake is?
That's the beauty of it all. Simplicity. Besides, if it gets too complicated, you lose your target audience.
Most importantly, when was the last time you saw a landline phone? Scream opens with teenager Casey Becker answering her home phone. Little does she realize that her future killer is on the other end of the line.
Wait, don't hang up.
What?
I want to talk to you for a second.
In an era of caller ID, Casey likely would have ignored a number she didn't recognize. Even if she did respond, Casey could have texted any number of people that there's an intruder and to help ASAP. She also could have Googled that Mrs. Voorhees was the killer in Friday the 13th, thus preventing her boyfriend's death. Number 9. The talented Mr. Ripley.
Herbert Greenleaf. My wife, Emily.
Thank you. Tom Ripley.
How do you do?
The plot of this thriller is set in motion when Tom Ripley is mistaken for a Princeton graduate by aristocrat Herbert Greenleaf. Herbert pays Tom $1,000 to travel to Italy and bring back his son Dickie. Upon meeting Dickie, Tom lies and says they know each other from Princeton.
Dickie Greenleaf?
Who's that?
It's Tom. Tom Ripley.
Chances are if you ran into someone who claims to be an old college acquaintance, the first thing you do is look them up on Facebook. If only they'd had this luxury in the 1950s, Dickie could have whipped out his smartphone and found that Tom never went to Princeton. Sure, Ripley could have edited his profile, but his presence on social media would also make it much harder for him to steal Dickie's identity. Number 8. 1 hour photo. Some of you kids may be too young to remember, but before everyone and their grandmother had a smartphone, people took photos on actual cameras. They even had places where you could have the film developed. This was essential to the plot of 1 hour photo, which centers on a deranged photo developer who becomes obsessed with a family that regularly visits his superstore. He doesn't just develop their photos, he also takes home copies for his personal collection.
I've been doing POS mini lab work for over 20 years now. I consider it an important job.
Since photo technicians are no longer a staple of drugstores, this film's protagonist likely would be working in a different department. Had it taken place today, Robin Williams' character likely would have stalked the family on Facebook and Instagram instead, which admittedly sounds just as creepy.
Don't let the place go downhill, okay?
Number 7. Jingle All The Way.
Which reminds me, you got the doll, right?
This Christmas comedy was inspired by the real-life shopping frenzies ignited by Cabbage Patch Kids, Furby, and other hot ticket toys. Since Arnold Schwarzenegger's character put his holiday shopping off until the last minute, he must scurry all over town on Christmas Eve to find an elusive Turbo Man action figure. When this film came out in 1996, Amazon was just an online bookstore. Now, however, Schwarzenegger could have clicked on the Amazon app and had a Turbo Man delivered to his house before Christmas. In the event that Amazon was out of stock, he still could have turned to eBay, Craigslist, or countless other websites. He may have to pay a little extra for overnight shipping, but it beats almost getting blown up by Sinbad.
This is nothing but a harmless Christmas package.
Number 6. North by Northwest. North by Northwest is arguably the greatest movie ever made about mistaken identity. But this Alfred Hitchcock classic would have gone in an entirely different direction had smartphones existed in 1959.
Mrs. Babson up on Twining Road.
I got a call somewhere. Where's the phone?
You're allowed one call.
Cary Grant plays Roger Thornhill, an average ad executive who's misconstrued for a government agent named George Kaplan. With a mysterious organization hot on his tail, Thornhill is forced to go on the run in search of answers. Had the bad guys done a quick Google search, they would have quickly realized that Thornhill was not the man they were looking for. They also could have pieced together that George Kaplan doesn't even exist.
If you'll get on the plane...
Oh, wait a minute, you listen to me. I'm an advertising man, not a red herring.
I've got a job, a secretary, a mother, 2 ex-wives, and several bartenders dependent upon me.
He was merely a false persona cooked up by the government, making for one of cinema's most famous MacGuffins. Number 5. The Blair Witch Project.
This is my home.
Okay.
Which I am leaving the comforts of for the weekend.
Weirdly enough, this pioneering found footage horror movie could have been shot on a smartphone had it been made today. The film revolves around 3 students who venture into the woods in hopes of unraveling the legend of the Blair Witch. It isn't long until they lose their way.
Because I know we're not lost.
Oh, you knew that yesterday too, and you knew that twice
Look,
today.
No.
With the map missing and a compass being of little help, it appears they're destined to die in the woods. The question is what'll kill them first, starvation or the witch herself? Of course, nobody has to die with smartphones. Just call the authorities and have them send a rescue team. You could even give them your exact location with the Find My Phone feature. Or better yet, use a map app to find your way back to civilization. Number 4. Phone booth.
Don't even think about leaving that phone booth.
Wrong number, pal.
This claustrophobic thriller confines Colin Farrell's Stu to a phone booth for most of the runtime. Answering a public payphone, Stu is told by the unknown caller that he'll be shot immediately if he doesn't comply. In 1999, only 4 years before this movie came out, there were about 2 million phone booths in the United States. By 2018, that number had dropped to 100,000. While phone booths are not extinct per se, a wealthy New Yorker like Stu isn't going to use one unless his smartphone runs out of batteries and there's nowhere to charge it. Plus, in a society that's going cashless, we doubt Stu would even have a quarter to use the phone booth.
Look, what was so interesting about a guy in a phone booth on 53rd and 8th?
The Stew Show. Better than TV.
Look, how'd I get so lucky to be picked out by a killer with a rifle?
Number 3. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
They bought it.
Playing hooky sure was a lot easier in the 80s. Dean of Students Edward Rooney goes to hell and back to prove that Ferris Bueller is ditching school. With an iPhone at his disposal, however, Rooney wouldn't even need to leave his office to catch Ferris. Through some investigating on social media, he could have figured out that Sloane Peterson's grandmother did not die that day. Ferris's little performance at the Von Steuben Day Parade undoubtedly would have ended up on YouTube. If the campaign to save Ferris went viral, everyone would have noticed that the kid on the parade float was also the supposed dying teen trending on Twitter. On top of that, the snooty waiter could have confirmed that Ferris was not the Sausage King of Chicago.
Are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am?
I'm suggesting that you leave before I have to get snooty.
Number 2. Psycho. Desperate for money, Marion Crane steals a client's $40,000 and sets a course for California where her lover awaits. She decides to spend the night at the Bates Motel, which ends up being her final resting place.
You have a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12 vacancies. 12 cabins, 12 vacancies.
Marion could have saved herself a lot of trouble if she'd simply looked up the Bates Motel on Yelp. Given the motel's eerie manager, his cranky mother, and the fact that multiple guests disappeared after checking in, we bet the ratings would be in the 1-star range. Granted, a remote establishment like the Bates Motel probably wouldn't have much of an online presence, but that's all the more reason for Marion to seek out shelter at a cozy Airbnb instead.
Are you sure you wouldn't like to stay just a little while longer?
In some of these cases, I watch the movies and I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't happen now, this makes no sense. But in the case of others, especially our number 1, which I love, I'm just like, shut up, the movie is perfect, no one cares. Anyway, let's check out the honorable mentions and then we'll find out what movie really wouldn't exist in today's world thanks to smartphones.
Well, that's the thing, I have this condition.
A condition?
It's my memory.
Amnesia.
No, it's different from that. I have no short-term memory.
He went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country.
What did you order? We ordered M16s. We ordered them. Now this is an AR-70. Different weapon. It's not what I ordered.
So, we'll go to the twins' house, right? We'll give them their anniversary gifts, and then we'll apologize for trashing their house. And then we get our special treats. Dude, where's my car?
I only know him through the, You're not gonna believe this.
Oh, let me guess. Through the internet?
Yes.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Home Alone. The night before leaving for Paris, the McAllisters' power goes out, resulting in the clocks resetting. This causes the family to oversleep, leave in a rush, and forget young Kevin.
What else could we be forgetting?
Kevin!
Since the phone lines are down, they're unable to call home. Too bad Santa couldn't travel back in time to give everyone smartphones for Christmas. If the whole family set their smartphone alarms, they wouldn't have slept in. If they still somehow forgot Kevin, he could have sent a group text to his family before their plane left Chicago.
This is ridiculous. Only a wimp would be hiding under a bed. And I can't be a wimp. I'm the man of the house.
Even if everyone had their phones in airplane mode, they at least could have contacted Kevin upon landing in Paris. It would also be much easier for Kevin's mom to book a flight home thanks to various travel apps.
What kind of mother am I?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.